Happy birthday, Retrospectors. This show is 5 years old this month.
We're an independent show that relies on your support to keep going.
So help us fund future episodes and get exclusive content at patreon.com/retrospectors.
That's patreon.com/retrospectors.
Whoa.
Happy birthday, Retrospectors. This show is 5 years old.
And we're an independent show that relies on your support to keep going.
So help us fund future episodes and get exclusive content at patreon.com/retrospectors.
That's patreon.com/retrospectors. Retrospectors. Retrospectors.
Retrospectors, did you know that our paid subscribers get early access to our episodes?
Yes, a whole year in advance, indeed.
You can unlock 50 episodes that won't be on our free feed for a whole year right now at patreon.com/retrospectors.
Get exclusive content and support the show at
patreon.com/retrospectors.
Retrospectors, did you know our paid subscribers get early access to our episodes?
Yes, a whole year in advance, indeed.
You can unlock 50 episodes that won't be on our free feed for a whole year right now at patreon.com/retrospectors.
Get exclusive content and support the show at
patreon.com/retrospectors.
Retrospectors, have you had enough of listening to ads like this?
Well, did you know supporters of the show at patreon.com/retrospectors get an ad-free feed?
So you can listen to us wherever you're listening to us right now, but skip all the ads.
Sign up now to skip all the ads at patreon.com/retrospectors. Retrospectors, have you had enough of listening to ads like this?
Well, did you know that supporters of the show at patreon.com/retrospectors get an ad-free feed?
So you can listen to us wherever you're listening to us right now, but skip all the ads.
Sign up now to skip the ads at patreon.com/retrospectors.
Retrospectors! Now, Retrospectors, we've been plugging our pledge drive all month, but something we haven't mentioned yet is our birthday episodes.
That's right, our top tier members at patreon.com/retrospectors get a special, bespoke, 10-minute long episode of the show just for them on their birthday every year.
And we love making them, and you can gift it as well. It's genuinely better than socks.
Sign up now for your birthday episode or a gift membership at patreon.com/retrospectors. Retrospectors, we've been plugging on this pledge drive all month, but something we haven't mentioned yet is our birthday episodes.
That's right, our top tier members at patreon.com/retrospectors get a special, bespoke, 10-minute long episode of the show just for them on their birthday every year.
We love making them, and you can gift a membership as well. It's better than socks.
Sign up now for your birthday episode or a gift membership at patreon.com/retrospectors.
Content warning. Check the show notes for more information. It's June 9th, 68 AD, and another remarkable event is about to be uncovered by Arion, Rebecca, and Olly, the Retrospectors.
If we take the early Roman chroniclers at their word, the Emperor Nero was no stranger to death. In fact, he was probably on a first-name basis with the Grim Reaper, given his mother was said to have killed his father, and Nero himself possibly killed his stepbrother and his mum, not to mention his first wife, and, come to think of it, his second wife as well. Which all might explain why, when he realised his empire was crumbling around him today in history in the year 68, putting a dagger to his own throat and saying hello to his old pal Death may not have seemed like the very worst option.
I mean, it was an empire that extended from Britain to Armenia, so you could understand if you were to have sympathy for a Roman emperor who perhaps wasn't this particularly tyrannical one. You could understand why it would be difficult to keep your eye on the ball. Earlier in this year of 68 AD, there had been a rebellion in Gaul. Gaius Julius Vindex, a governor in Gaul, had rebelled, but Nero just hadn't been convinced that it was really a threat to his leadership, decreeing, "I have only to appear and sing to have peace once more in Gaul." But then slowly other governors started joining the revolt too.
Yeah, by the time the army defected to a rival for the throne, the imperial governor of Spain, a guy called Galba, the Senate had finally lost patience with Nero and they declared him a public enemy. And at this point, he was at a villa belonging to one of his freedmen, and he was he's kind of vacillating. He wasn't too keen on the whole suicide idea, which fair enough. It's easier, I think, to kill a lot of other people when you're a Roman emperor than it is to kill yourself. And it was only at the point where he received a letter notifying him that the Senate had declared him a public enemy and that they intended to flog him to death in public that he decided he did have it in him after all.
Yeah, so he'd actually come to power due to a strange set of circumstances where basically his biological father had died when he was 2 years old, and his mother, Agrippina, had married the then Emperor Claudius, who was also her uncle. There was a lot of that going around at the time. And Nero was then adopted and kind of put in line to become his heir and successor. And just to keep all the incestuousness going, in 53 AD, Nero's mother arranged for him to marry Claudius's daughter Octavia.
I mean, he had a pretty unparalleled claim to the throne because the existing emperor was his great uncle, his stepfather, his father-in-law, and his adoptive father.
It's like a Jerry Springer showtime. I mean, he became emperor at 17, and rumours persist still of him having an incestuous relationship with his mother, simply because of this way in which Agrippina had wangled him in there, and things like surviving coins that imply they jointly ruled as equals, so both heads are the same size on the coins. But in the early days, if he'd have only lasted a few years, he'd have gone down in history, wouldn't he? As a successful emperor, doing some pretty progressive things.
Yeah, the Emperor Trajan, who came to power 30 years after Nero died, is said to have spoken of the quinquennium Neronis, the 5 good years of Nero's 14 years in charge, which most people think were the very beginning. You know, his first speech was this thing that was penned for him by his much respected advisor Seneca, in which he promised to uproot the corruption that had plagued Claudius's court and return power to the Senate, and
cut taxes.
Yeah, cut taxes.
End secret trials.
Right.
Ban capital punishment.
You sound like you're about to go around canvassing for Nero.
Remember the first 5 years, everybody.
Yeah, I mean, he was very popular with the lower orders, although loathed by the elite. Also, he invested a lot in the city of Rome. He had these new grand public baths built. And interestingly, the idea that he fiddled while Rome burned, the classic saying, well, obviously he didn't do that. Violence hadn't been invented, and he wasn't actually in Rome when the fire started. But there are actually reports that he oversaw measures to quell the flames, that he organised shelter for those who had been made homeless, and afterwards he introduced a new building code to try and stop Rome from being such a big flammable mess of overcrowded apartment buildings. But you have to obviously keep in mind that Roman culture and values were very different to ours, and that being incredibly brutal did not preclude being very popular. So he very easily could have been and probably was both. The other thing is that the idea of history as an academic discipline in the modern sense didn't really exist at the time. And, Roman chroniclers saw no issue with arranging their accounts so that they made like a nice point or that there was dramatic irony in them.
Can we just recount what they say he did, right? So first is that as a result for Rome burning down, he then went about persecuting Christians, but persecuting them so horribly that he's been called the Antichrist, right? When you write Nero Caesar in Hebrew, it can be turned into the figure 666, the number of the beast. You're talking about torture, whipping, dressing Christians in animal skins and setting wild dogs upon them, having men crucified in his garden, coated in wax and set alight to act as candles at his parties. And, Christians were a real minority then. They were just a Jewish sect. I mean, this is AD 68. It would be like blaming celiacs now.
But in any case, he was certainly brutal, despotic, unstable, prone to excess in all vices. He had this villa on the Gulf of Naples. It was basically the Epstein Island of its day. Some of the more outlandish tales include him castrating a freedman there to play his bride in a sort of parody wedding ceremony. But his infamy is definitely a combination of the accounts we have from the time, which are notorious for repeating tittle-tattle, but also the early church, turning him into the ultimate bogeyman for his persecution of Christians. Like, I don't think we would have this image of Nero if he'd been burning Gauls at the stake.
But again, if you're looking for kind of convincing psychology as to why someone might do this, what we do know, which is what the fiddling while Rome burns thing hints at, regardless of whether the fiddle existed or not, is that he was a frustrated actor.
Yes.
And if we needed any proof that there's nothing more dangerous than a frustrated actor, his story is it. He wanted to be an actor and musician. He wanted to play the lyre. He wanted to write poetry and sing. People used to pretend they were dead so they could leave his gigs. He was so bad. His final words supposedly were, "Oh, what an artist dies in me." Like his whole sad story is a warning bell for frustrated lovies.
That's true. And even the death of his mother, however it came about, most people identify that as a moment at which there was a real turning point, and quite a lot of these dreams of being some sort of a performer or even a chariot racer were allowed to come out. He stopped listening to his better advisors, even got rid of a bunch of them, rebranded himself as Apollo. There is a hint of perhaps some instability.
The artist formerly known as Nero.
Yeah, exactly. And then also becoming more interested in the business of public performance rather than ruling the empire. Of course, there is good reason to give your people bread and circuses.
He's like, it's bread and circuses, but I've got to tell you guys, I am
the circus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the reasons that he was unpopular with the elite. I mean, other emperors would be criticised just for being too interested in gladiatorial games and circuses, whereas Nero actually wanted to participate in them. And that was seen as being grotesquely unbefitting of the actual ruler of Rome by the elite. And you can see that reflected in the way that Suetonius describes his death as well. Suetonius always depicts the manner of death in a way that is supposed to reflect how the emperor themselves lived. So he makes Nero's death seem particularly farcical and pathetic. Roman society prized stoicism in men, and Suetonius depicts Nero as being reluctant to kill himself, not knowing what to do. First, he calls for poison, which was seen as being an effeminate way to die at the time. He can't even bring himself to swallow it. Next, he summons his favourite gladiator. So again, we've got a reference to his frowned upon involvement in gladiatorial games. Mm-hmm. And the overall effect is almost comedic. There's obviously no respect for Nero.
So all of that leads us to his actual death, which again, if we go on what Suetonius says, he has it thus. It starts with a quote. "Hark now strikes on my ear the trampling of swift-footed hunters," that's Nero speaking, "and he drove a dagger into his throat. Aided by Epaphroditus, his private secretary, he was all but dead when a centurion rushed in, and as he placed a cloak to the wound, pretending that he had come to aid him, Nero merely gasped, 'Too late,' and 'This is fidelity.' With these words, he was gone, with his eyes so set and starting from their sockets that all who saw him shuddered with horror."
So nothing in those final words about being a frustrated artist then?
Well, apparently that's what he was saying earlier while the freedmen were digging his grave for him. He couldn't even do that. He was pacing up and down beside the grave, muttering to himself.
I think that's fair enough. I think digging your own grave is pretty vivid, isn't it?
I think also if you fluff your lines after you've stabbed yourself or been stabbed, that's okay. That's forgivable.
Yeah. And Nero's death actually sparked a kind of interesting cult-like belief that he was going to return. It started off being that he'd faked his death, and there was actually good reason for people to be suspicious. One was that his death had taken place outside of the city at this freedman's villa. No one had really seen it. And then his funeral was very pared back. He was cremated privately. That was very unusual for an emperor not to have a big public tribute. And then as time went on, it almost took on a supernatural dimension. It became a legend that Nero had not only survived, but that he had remained alive at the same age he had been, and that he was going to come and restore his kingdom. I mean, maybe at this point being influenced by, the Christian beliefs around Jesus' return.
Well, I guess you can see how the people would be trained to believe that he was somehow invincible or had super strength by his own propaganda.
Yeah.
I mean, he took a year out at one point, competing in artistic competitions where he won 1,808 first prizes. It's amazing, isn't it? He was always the most talented person in the stadium. Even at the Olympic Games, he won first prize in everything he did, which is because he was just so talented. So you can see how the ordinary pleb might be convinced by that.
There's echoes in that of how Donald Trump seems to hit an unnatural amount of holes in one at his golf courses.
Exactly.
Tomorrow.
No one was sure at first if it was a phenomenon like the hula hoop or a phenomenon like gravity.
Ditch the ads and get a Sunday episode when you join Club Retrospectors. Patreon.com/Retrospectors.